You're listening to Ecto Portal, a journey into the unknown with Anthony Anderson and Verna Wilson.
I hope that you are seated comfortably with the light turned down and the curtains drawn.
To Ecto Portal. This is Anthony Anderson, your host, and I'm here with my co-host,
Verna Wilson.
And we're also here tonight with...
I'm back! Linda Walker.
Okay. And we're also here with...
Tommy Netzband from the San Francisco Ghost Society.
There you go. And tonight we're talking about...
Spooks.
Ghosts of San Francisco, which is a topic we all know really well, I think, here.
Oh, yeah.
And now we're going to move on to our topic tonight, which is Ghosts of San Francisco.
So shall we start out with some well-known ghosts that are local legend, and then sort of talk about ghosts that we ran across on our own personally, and that's been known in our neighborhoods and things like that?
We could.
Okay.
Or we could just come up with locations and just talk about each one as we come up with it.
Okay. Linda, why don't you start with outside your window what you heard when you lived on Sacramento Street.
She has taffy in her mouth, so she's probably not a good person to start.
And she just emptied the taffy from her mouth. That was really gross.
Cool. I'm glad you folks could see that.
I'm glad you like grossed up. Okay, this happened, let's see, how long have I been out of that street? About 3 years ago.
Okay.
I used to live in Sacramento Street and Larkin, that area.
Right around the corner from me.
And, yeah, a block away from Verna. And so one night I was sitting around watching TV, my computer, that's my usual thing and everything. And I heard, like, horses. You know, clop, 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 clop. And I hear it, and I'm like, what the heck is that outside? Is there horses outside? So I open my window, and I look, and I see nothing. So this kept happening like once, 2 or 3 times a week.
And she would call me.
I would call her, and I said, I keep hearing horses, but I don't see them. So I told my husband one night, I heard it, and my husband heard it. And he said, oh, it's probably, girls with high heels, because sometimes...
They'd be clapping.
Yeah, they'd be walking by and maybe...
Street.
And I said, no, I hear horses. And he didn't... I kept explaining to him, right when I hear the...
It's a very distinct sound.
Yeah, it's a very distinctive sound.
I love it. Do you guys like the sound of clopping?
I love horse clopping.
Yeah, I love the
sound
sound
of horses.
that. I think it's
something
really cool.
very cool about it. It's a very distinctive sound. Yeah.
Right, and I keep hearing it all the time. And one evening I said, okay, I know I'm going to hear it. And I heard it. I ran as fast as I can. I ran outside to see if there was anybody out in the street, and there was nobody out in the street. So I'm not surprised in a way, because around California Street and around that area where the cable cars and everything, there used to be a lot of horses back in the old days before they, developed the cable car a little more sophisticated. And they used to have cable cars with the horses drawn and used to go up the hill until Mark Hopkins decided that he wanted everybody to come up to his hotel. That he was one of these guys who raced to get the cable cars going in the city. And so, yeah, I mean, and if you go around California Street and everything, you see garages and stuff. They used to have where the horses used to be, where they used to have stables and stuff.
Now, would
and
they
everything
have
back
would
in
they
the
have had
days.
cobblestone streets at that point?
No,
In the city?
I
Did
think
the
they were
city
dirt
ever have them?
streets.
Well, I think they were dirt street. I said cobblestones, but dirt streets. But you can tell a horse that horse sound distinctly. When they're walking and that clop
Yeah,
clop.
Well, yeah.
It's very. You can't be fooled with. It doesn't sound like cars or anybody walking. You can.
And not only that, I mean, I used to be a horse lover, so I used to love, to ride horses, and I'm very
very
knowledgeable,
attuned to what they
attuned
sound
to
like,
how
yeah.
a horse walks. So yeah, okay, so that's my little ghost.
That's cool.
And one night I was over there at her house, and it was very late, and she heard it, and she ran to the window. She goes, "Verna, don't you hear it? Don't you hear the horses? Don't you hear it?" And since I was in her kitchen and I was getting something to drink, I walked up. She goes, "You missed it." It just
Yeah, it would be
passed
just
by.
like just passing by.
Linda, what's wrong?
Yeah.
You heard the horse.
So okay,
So you
that's
heard
my
the
that's my
horses,
little horse
but
story.
not the
Yeah.
lambs. Okay.
Back to Taffy.
So let's just pick a location.
All right.
Golden Gate Park.
That's a good start.
Start with that.
Several stories there.
Yeah. Okay.
So obviously the most famous, I guess, would be Stowe Lake, right?
Yeah, Stowe Lake is the
absolutely.
most famous. Yeah.
Yes, several versions over the years.
Do you want me to tell you the versions that I heard first?
Sure.
Yeah, and then I can tell you the
Truth?
yeah,
All right. So
so to speak.
the
Yeah.
first one was, it was a young mother who had the baby out of wedlock. The guy promised to marry her, and she drowned the baby in the lake and then drowned
Poor baby.
herself. That was the first one I heard. The second one was just a woman talking with someone on the side of the lake with a baby's buggy or stroller, and it rolled into the lake, and the baby vanished. They couldn't find the baby. I don't know, the thing must have submerged and the baby floated away or something. They couldn't find the baby. They looked and looked and looked, and she looked. And I guess people say that this woman they see wandering around the lake is looking for her baby. Now, whether it's the version where she drowned the baby and she's just looking for her baby, or whether the baby buggy went into the water and she's just looking for her child somewhere.
Yeah.
Now, that's the two versions I read on the internet, and the internet never lies.
Yeah, yeah. Well, I mean, there's several versions of the story, that over the years, and one of the things that I love about ghost hunting is, of course, the history and the research. Doing it in Tony as well, because there's many stories over the years. They sort of change and they add a little here. It's like a recipe, So what ends up happening is you have a story that begins with one thing and then it ends up sort of completely being different. And, this particular story, though, has been told over 100 years. In fact, as you guys know, I do the Haunted Haight Walking Tour.
Right.
And this is one of the stories I do tell on the tour. And thank you for that plug, hauntedhaight.com, hauntedhaight.com.
Saturday nights at 7?
Saturdays at
Coffee
7.
to the people?
Yes. And
How much is that?
$22.
There you go.
$22. But anyway, so one of the amazing things, I've always been very fascinated by this story because I'd heard it for years as well. And it's been told over 100 years. And how I know that is during my research of the tour, I actually discovered an article in our local paper, the San Francisco Call, and it talked about this very same ghost in 1908.
Wow.
Okay. Yeah. And here's the trouble with the Woman of Stowe Lake story. What is said is that it happened during the Victorian era. And in the Victorian era, there was a young woman who was boating on the lake with her toddler or baby. The baby fell in, she went after, and both of them drowned. Okay. People claim they see her above the lake, on the side of the lake, up Strawberry Hill, adjacent to the lake. I actually had somebody report to me about a couple years ago, seeing her, at the San Francisco Ghost Society, seeing her on the corner of 10th and Fulton, which is right where you go in where the museums are, which leads you to
And how did they know it was her?
Because she's always described the same way.
Okay.
In a white dress with long hair
Oh, okay.
and glowing. Always the same. And, when I heard this tale, I automatically thought urban legend. Because this is very similar in the Latino community to a story called La Llorona.
Right.
Which is, the
Llorona.
woman who, drowned her baby and very, very similar story.
Yeah.
So when I hear a woman in white tail, I usually write it off as urban legend. And I did that with this story for quite a while until I discovered this article. And in the article in 1908, it describes two couples riding in Golden Gate Park. In fact, if you guys want to read this article, you can get a book. It's called Haunted San Francisco by Rand Richards. Okay, he's a really great historian, and he actually ended up publishing this article in his book. Okay, and according to the article, there's two couples riding in one of these new, what they called amazing moving mechanisms. And that was the automobile. Okay, yeah, it was described as the amazing moving mechanism, and they got pulled over by a horse-mounted police officer for speeding 10 miles per hour. Okay, that was speeding back then, and he pulls them over, and of course is like, "Why are you racing through this park?" And they say, "Well, officer, we just saw a ghost." And lo and behold, they describe the same woman of Stowe Lake.
The same woman. Wow.
Yeah, and
Okay.
I'll quote what it said. She had robes of white to the floor and long hair, fair hair, and shining. Okay. So, you play the telephone game, the woman in white. After 100 years, it becomes the woman in a polka dot dress. So why is it over 100 years? This tale has never, ever changed. And to me, that's the best way
So there
to
must be
prove
some
a ghost story.
There must be some truth to it, but the original truth has been lost a long time ago through retelling over and over again.
Absolutely. So,
Yeah.
it had to have been the Victorian era story that, did it. And, another thing that people say is, well, if you were to drain Stowe Lake, it's about 5 feet. Okay?
Yeah, I hear it's pretty shallow.
Yeah. But the argument that I've gotten from folks is, well, there's a lot of heavy clothing back then. And
True.
a woman could drown in 5 feet of water, especially if there was nobody around or
And if she's
There are
diving in
different
and
ways
looking
to
for a
drown.
baby,
But I've never
too.
found an article about it,
Yeah.
because if it did happen, during the earthquake period, we wouldn't have those records.
Right.
They're gone.
That would make sense, yeah.
So we don't really have any records of that. But it's been a legend told for many, many years, And, that I believe is definitely true, because the best way to prove a ghost story is history.
Yep.
Right, the
That's
local
true.
papers, people
Yeah.
repeating seeing the same vision over and over
Yeah.
again, and they couldn't have been familiar with.
Yeah, with
with
that.
with
And it
anything
leads
else,
into
yeah.
another story in Golden Gate Park I'm sure you
Sure.
guys have all heard, which is the ghost police officer that pulls you over. Yeah, you're going through the park and then you get pulled over by the police officer and he gives you a ticket. And then you go to pay the ticket and they go, "That officer's been dead for 40 years, sir."
Dun dun dun.
I'm lucky I've never had that happen.
Well, here's the problem with that, and I've looked for people and have talked to people who've claimed that they've been pulled over by this police officer, but no one has the ticket. Where's the ticket? I mean, if I got pulled over by a police officer that was a ghost, you better damn be sure I'm going to keep the ticket. So no
course,
one
you
has
want the
ever
proof.
produced this ticket that this ghost cop gives. So it makes me feel that it's probably urban legend, And I'm sure many of the folks have heard that's a very popular story here,
I've never heard that one actually.
No.
No.
So contemporary clothes, though.
There's a lot of versions,
Okay.
just like
Yeah.
you could look it up online. There's a lot of versions, and there was some explosion in Golden Gate Park at the police station. It was sort of like a terrorist attack. I think it happened in like the 70s, local terrorist attack. There was some sort of explosion at the park police station. So is there a possibility that a police officer could have died? Yes, but I just think you would keep the ticket, And are you getting a written ticket? Or are you getting a electronic ticket? Like, do they upgrade when the afterlife? I don't know.
And why would you want to be on duty? For
Hey,
the
if
rest of your
anybody
life?
out there is listening and has seen this, feel free. You should have them call in.
if you have the ticket,
If you have the ticket, you have
Please.
the golden ticket, you can come to the Willy
We'd love
Wonka
to see the proof.
studio
We'll
here.
we'll put it on the page. Yeah.
absolutely, and then we'll not give it back. No, I would love to see that.
Yeah,
ticket.
it's look it up on the internet. It's very, very popular story here.
Cool. You want to pick another one?
Yeah, I'm gonna. I was looking about the Letterman's Hospital.
Oh, the Letterman Hospital.
Oh, yeah.
My sister Verna and I were
We were born there.
We were born there.
Oh,
that explains it.
Yeah. And
is that why? Then they tore it down, or
Well, it's
Yeah.
now Lucas. It's Lucas Arts.
Thanks a lot.
And Lucas Arts is. I've heard all kinds of stories about
Yeah.
Lucas Arts being haunted,
Yep.
and people that have claimed they've worked there and have had all these strange happenings. So God, wouldn't it be great to get in there?
good luck.
Oh,
but yeah,
yeah,
I
it
would
would
love to.
be,
do
yeah.
that.
I mean, it's been around since World War II.
But there's-
my father used to go there all the time. We used to go to the commissary and everything.
But if you
when we
go
were
online,
kids.
there's actually people who went in there before they tore
Yeah.
it down and took lots and lots of pictures,
Yeah.
so you could see what it looked like inside.
Oh, I know. They said it's extremely haunted. And
But
I'm
the
trying
one
to
that I
find it,
was
can't find it.
wondering about, there was another. Was it not Letterman? There was another health center building.
Yeah, the VA.
UCSF.
No.
No,
It was
no.
another building that got converted into apartments.
Yeah, it was a Presidio hospital or something.
Oh,
Yeah.
I thought the Letterman's Hospital.
No, there was
No,
another-
there's
so
another
they
one.
changed it into the Lucas. Okay,
It was a whole
I
other
don't
health
Yeah,
center.
around that area anymore.
I knew
But,
someone who worked as I believe did some sort of security there or something.
And they say that that's haunted.
Yeah.
That there's stories there.
Well, I'm sure that'll all come out during the apartments once they're rented.
And they're already renting.
Are
aren't
they renting?
I think so.
And I know-
It's been a long time. I mean, it's
Are
been
they
around there for
beautiful?
years now.
And I
But-
posted a video earlier this week on the Facebook page of a guy basically showing you them finishing the renovations at the Presidio, all the houses, and a lot of the workers won't go inside. They're doing the work on the outside, but they won't go inside. He said he asked a lot of them. He said they won't go inside them.
Wow.
So I don't know. It's weird.
Well, the Letterman's Hospital is from the 1890s,
Yeah.
and
that was big too.
yeah, it's a big hospital. Yeah.
So I heard.
It was named.
Yeah.
I mean,
it
I
was
was
named.
Intimate
I was too
memories,
young to
right?
remember. I was too young to remember.
It was the Letterman's
I was
Army
like, it's in my
Medical Center,
scrapbook.
which is named in 1911 for Jonathan Letterman, and he was the medical director of the Army and of the Pontiac in the Civil War, and thousands returned sick and wounded soldiers overseas.
Yep.
And then, of course, the 20th century World War II, many soldiers died. Their ghosts still haunted the hospital. Park Presidio for many years and is fenced up. You can find ways under the fence or over it, which is not there anymore.
Yeah, it's not
This
there.
is an old
If
article.
you go over the fence now, I guarantee
so, yeah,
you will
so
be
who knows?
arrested.
Now it's
Yes,
and like
by
I said,
Walt
now
Disney himself. His
it's
ghost will get you.
LucasArts. And yeah, and they said they still seeing ghosts being reported at the.
Well, it was a hospital. I mean,
Yes,
in
and that's
hospitals
one
you
of-
will see it.
One of the most haunted places, hospitals.
I know. Oh, absolutely.
Yes.
Wouldn't be surprised if my dad is haunting it.
Well, I wouldn't either.
Wow.
Dad used
What-
to go there. Well,
What's sad is what they
That
did
was
to
his
the.
favorite place besides Moffett Field.
What's sad is what they did to the pet cemetery.
Yeah. That
what did
was
they do to the
horrible.
pet cemetery?
They put that freeway thing over the top of it, so now you literally have to crawl under the freeway, crouch down on your hands and knees to get to the back.
Yeah.
Where it used to
wow.
be just a nice gate
I've always wanted to visit it.
with trees.
Oh, I've
They
been
took
there
all the
many
trees
times.
down.
It's really great.
I'd like to go.
They hacked
really
all the
great.
trees down, and then built that overpass over the top of it. Now, like I said, it's still there. The fence in the front's still there, but you have to, as you go in, you kind of have to crouch
Yeah,
down.
and then you
because-
got to
wow, so
dodge
now it's
gauge
harder.
with the
Well, I
scalpel
intend to go soon.
from Pet Cemetery.
That's
Daddy,
right.
Daddy.
Gauge, yep. You might
gonna
find
take Linda's
church out in
PX when I
front
go.
too.
Exactly. And you'll have Herman Munster as the neighbor going, "Don't go in there now."
Sometimes that is better. It's actually a pretty
We're
cool.
such movie
pet
nerds.
cemetery.
That's actually, one of the better Stephen King movies. I think I enjoyed
Pet
it. Pet
Sematary?
Cemetery.
I wasn't crazy about the book. That's when I started. When I was reading Stephen King religiously,
I enjoyed the book.
I hit Pet Sematary and I went, "Oh, All right, now it's not so good.
Really, I enjoyed it. I thought
No,
it was
this one,
good.
I was first disappointed by that one.
I like that movie.
The movie I
And
like.
also they had the Ramones singing there.
All right, well,
I don't want to be buried in
All right.
person.
What
Okay,
else
next
we got?
location.
I'm gonna pick. Unless you guys want to start, if you have
Oh,
one.
you mean the
Well-
the Nob Hill one, Vernon?
The
Go
Knob
ahead.
Hill one, yeah.
How about the Sutro Forest?
Well, I think that we should
What?
maybe go with Verna's. She
We can do
was-
Sutro Forest right after we do this one.
Okay.
Yeah.
I'm not sure what we were going to do, but
Oh,
okay.
there's a very famous story on
Oh yeah,
California
yeah.
Street.
yeah.
Right,
Go,
the
go
Knob
do
Hill
that.
one,
Go ahead and do
yeah.
that first.
Well, there's a ghost called what's her name? Flora Somerton.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Apparently, she was a society woman. She was a bride, and she ran away from her wedding. Is what is the story that I heard, and we heard that she runs through California Street in a white dress, and everybody has seen her ghost. Well, we've been hearing this story for years, but one night, Linda and I were walking home on California Street. It was very late, and we saw this woman just running by in a long white dress.
And this is like where the Fairmont and the Mark
Right, the
Hopkins-
Fairmount and the Mark Hopkins. And I turned around to Linda and I said, wow, is there some kind of ball or some costume ball going on still at this late? And then Linda said, I guess so. And I go, wow. I said, she's all dressed up. And then all of a sudden, when she ran, we were watching her run down the street, and all of a sudden she just disappeared. And we just stood still. We were like, whoa, she
Whoa.
disappeared. We just saw the famous California street ghost. So we witnessed her that night.
There's a lot of people who witness. They see her
Yeah. But
running down the street
Does she
late
have a
night.
name? Do you know what her name is?
Yeah, it's
Flora Somerton.
Flora
Flora
Somerton.
Somerton.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
I think
So-
she ran away from a wedding that I think she didn't want to marry the guy after all, or something like that.
Yeah, and then she ran, and
I
her
think-
ghost is seen.
But
Many people have seen her over the years.
18 years old, disappeared in 1876. She ran away into an arranged marriage with an older gentleman. She ran away so she wouldn't have to enter in with the arranged marriage.
Right.
She fled and was never seen again until 50 years later. In 1926, the dead body of an old woman was discovered in a cheap motel room in Butte, Montana, wearing the same 19th century white ball gown and jewelry that Flora fled in, with old newspaper clippings of Flora's disappearance pinned to the walls of the room. Flora had finally been found. Her body was brought back to San Francisco. She was buried in the family plot. Today, many people see her ghost as a young girl walking at a quick pace up and down California Street. She lived not far from the Moscone Center, I guess.
Yeah.
That's
And
interesting.
I think that, one of the main things that people, I think, misunderstand about ghosts, if, they could be residual, that it's just a residual haunting. It goes on and over. It never really changes.
Right.
And that's an intense emotion, to run away from a wedding and to your family. So that intense emotion seems to just sort of play itself over and over there on California Street. And it's a very famous ghost story. Very famous. It's a good pick. Real good
Yeah.
pick.
And we were honored to see her ghost.
yeah,
Yes,
and
you
we,
guys
yeah,
were very
I mean,
honored.
we couldn't believe we witnessed
We
that.
were
Yeah, that's amazing.
freaking out. We just couldn't believe it.
So let's do Sutro.
So Sutro Forest. All right. Sutro Forest, fascinating place. Very fascinating. A lot of cool ghost stories up there.
A lot of history up there.
There's a lot of history too. Yeah, it basically was created by Adolf Sutro, who did the Sutro baths, and he also was mayor at one time of San Francisco, which I find really amazing because he was mayor over 100 years ago, and he actually was Jewish. A Jewish mayor over 100 years. That's amazing. If you really think about it, and
but he
talk
had
about
money,
the,
though, right?
well, it didn't matter. People still elected him. There was a lot of prejudice that went on, with people who were Jewish, even 100 years ago, whatever.
Yeah.
But so very fascinating tale, though, because what you'll find is Adolf Sutro decided that he was going to go ahead and get a tax break, okay, because they signed a law in the supervisors here in San Francisco to actually allow you to not pay taxes on land that you planted trees on, Okay, so he decided to build that whole forest as a tax break. Now, beautiful cypress up there and eucalyptus.
A lot.
You know,
Lots of beautiful trees.
yeah, really beautiful trees up there. But it was the place to kill yourself
Yep.
at the turn of the century because you didn't have the Golden Gate Bridge to jump off of. And where there was no welfare system, there was really no unemployment. So if you didn't do well, then you basically killed yourself.
And Laguna Honda was the site of the old poorhouse, and the Sutra Forest was right behind it. So it was very easy access to kill yourself if that's where you ended up.
Well, yeah, and also, you would just go up there. It was the outskirts of the city, so you could go up there, and it was a good way to kill yourself. In fact, I found articles over and over and over of suicides up there. In fact, I did a TV show called Legends of with the Travel Channel, and we brought them up there with the San Francisco Ghost Society, and we were able to get them some evidence up there in the forest. It's an amazing place. Half of it's owned by UCSF, and the other half is owned by the city. So you have to be careful on there because you will be on private property at some point if you're there, on the UCSF side. But definitely a fascinating place to visit, and not a lot of people know about the hauntings up there.
And just from some of the articles that I pulled were kidnappings, bank robbers held up in there.
Suicides.
Yeah, a lot
Lots
of
of
suicides,
suicides.
murders.
Lots of suicides.
I mean, there was just all
Shootings,
kinds of
hangings,
stuff.
lots of stuff going on up in that forest. In fact, it still goes on to this day.
What's sad is I heard that the city wants to now sell their part to the school, and they want to put a brand new campus on the whole place. They want to get rid of it entirely.
Oh, it's so beautiful, though.
That doesn't stop progress in the city.
No,
That's right.
Look what they're
That's
doing.
sad.
Look what the article I posted today about the Wells Fargo original building.
Yeah.
They
That-
want to put a
Couldn't believe when I
apartments
read
on
that.
top, and I'm like, wow, really? I mean, it's historic, so they're gonna just leave it there, but plop something on top.
Well, that's
of
what
it.
New York does. New York just plops everything on top of it.
If they haven't
And,
torn it down.
Yeah, if they haven't torn it down. But I've seen a lot of buildings in New York that sort of have like the old on the bottom and then the new on the top. We're booming here. There's a tech boom. We've got a lot of real estate that's being built because it's big money out here. But it's also, I mean, that's spooky in itself. The rents here. But yeah, Sutro Forest, definitely a cool place. See it while it's here, folks.
And there's so you know, if you do go there to investigate or check it out, if you go in the morning, you're going to get tons of runners who run on that whole trail.
Yes.
Every 5 seconds, a runner is going to run by you, behind you, or up to you, and it's kind of noisy.
Yes.
I would suggest maybe even early evening, because I think it's open till the sun goes down, right?
Yeah, I think the best time to go is like a weekday afternoon.
Yeah.
Because most of the runners are in the morning and the evening. And, you may have some kids in the afternoon from the campus. But overall, it's a little bit better to go. Going up there at night, it can be really dangerous.
Yeah.
And not dangerous in the sense of, kidnappers and all of that. But it's very steep. I actually did the TV show up there in the dark. And it's a little, that was scary in itself, with all
Just
those
during the
cliffs.
day. I mean, it's so narrow.
It's
And
pretty narrow,
Yeah.
but it's definitely worth checking out.
Yeah.
Definitely worth it.
But those runners running by you, man, if you're not careful and you're not paying attention, you could roll down the hill.
Yeah, they don't like it.
So,
Well, even I remember that we all got together one time and did the sutra baths.
Yeah, I remember that.
Sutro
Yeah.
Bat's another
Yeah.
good one. Yeah.
Sutra
Yep,
baths
sutra
is also
baths.
very pretty. It's supposedly
Haunted
they're
and Cursed by Anton LaVey.
Anton LaVey.
Yeah, that's true. That's true. And it burned on June 6th, 1966. 666.
Amazing. It's just, what is it? Yeah, that place is kind of cool. And they say that, what is it, the cave? If you go to the cave, light a candle.
I have actually had
We
people.
went in the cave, didn't we, during that
We did do.
yeah.
We did, and I've actually had many people come to me and tell me their stories of the candle at the cave.
Do you
and-
light a candle or do you?
Yeah, usually light a candle and then you go to the other end and then supposedly this ghost blows the candle
Not
out.
that any of the wind from the ocean is going to have anything
You're not
to do
going to
with
get
that.
a lot of wind. I mean, if you ever been in the tunnel, it's pretty protected. You go all the way to the end, and it's not really like facing the ocean so I think that you're pretty protected in there. But a lot of young kids like to go in there. It's kind of like a rite of passage. You go in there and sort of like that whole Bloody Mary in the mirror sort of thing.
Just don't do it when the tide's coming in, or you may
Yeah,
never come
yeah.
out.
Yeah, and also people see like candles being thrown off the Cliff House area too, over there by Sutro Baths, in that area.
Interesting.
And for those folks who don't know Sutro Baths, it was this incredible, complex of like 7 natural pools that pulled in water from the ocean, and they were
Again, produced by Adolf Sutro.
Adolf Sutro, and he built his own cable car line to go out there, so people could come out and enjoy it. And then, after it stopped being a place for the baths, it turned into sort of like an oddity place with like a, weird museum, and they had like ice skating in there and stuff like that. And then
That's when they
eventually,
built
Towards the end, it was just ice skating.
yeah, mostly just
They
ice
sold
skating.
off the museum and
And then eventually it, of course, burned. June 6, 1966.
mysteriously,
Yes, mysteriously.
maybe insurance purposes.
That's what the thought is, But it too is another very cool place to check out, these are places that people can actually really physically go to.
Yeah.
I mean, there's a lot of great ghost stories of places that you can't get in or you can't really go to, but it's kind of nice to let people know a few places that they can go to.
Exactly.
One
that I read about, which the St. Francis Hotel, the Westin St. Francis
Yes.
in Union Square. Obviously, the scandal of Fatty Arbuckle, silent
Oh,
movie
yeah,
star,
right.
he was
Yes.
a comedian. I think it's in the 20s.
Yeah,
not
it was,
mistaken, or teens.
You can.
it was in the 1920s.
It's definitely haunted in there. You can feel it the minute you walk in that lobby.
He had a party in.
I really think it was
in one of
before
the-
then,
It's
1920s,
in
wasn't
there.
it?
It's in that.
No,
Linda, it's
it
in
wasn't.
It was the
I know.
19
Linda, it's in there.
Yeah,
I know it ruined his
I
career, that's for sure.
Well, I know it was.
which is too
They
bad.
had a party in
I love Fatty
an
Arbuckle.
adjoining suite. They had a party with his friends and this woman, and this woman claims, that he tried to rape her. He did rape her, and that she was rushed to the hospital and she died. And they of course
Yes.
blamed
It's
him.
the infamous Coke bottle.
Court, yes.
Yeah.
Court trial followed and it destroyed his career.
Yeah, I mean,
But
he
the
was
one
acquitted. He
the
was
one
acquitted.
That's true. The one I didn't know about that I found, I didn't realize Al Jolson died there in the middle of a poker game.
No,
Really?
that was at the Al Jolson.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's what I just said.
Yeah.
No. I was thinking
Wow.
of the St. Francis Drake.
I had no idea that he died there. And they say he might still be there. Mammy! Maybe when you're walking down the hallway, Mammy! Or playing poker.
Let's hope not. And God forbid he's in blackface.
Oh no.
No. He actually had a pretty long career. That wasn't what he was only famous for, but that was obviously a big one.
Also, the Palace Hotel is known to be haunted too.
Yeah, the Palace.
Palace
yeah,
is definitely
several
known to
world
be haunted.
leaders died, including President Warren Harding. 1923, he was scheduled to give a speech in San Francisco, and he suddenly fell ill, and the cause of his death was never determined. But there is tales of spectral visions and supernatural encounters and glowing orbs in the historical hotel.
Wasn't there 2 Palace hotels, though?
One got destroyed.
One was destroyed, and then they built another one. Is this the second one that he died in? Must be.
It has to be 1923.
Yeah, that'd be the second one.
And then also, their famous guest list that they had was Oscar Wilde and
Nice.
John D. Rockefeller,
Wow,
and of course President Warren Harding.
Palace is worth investigating.
that'd be fun.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh God, yeah.
And we can all have dinner and drinks there, too.
Yeah, all on Linda.
Ooh, yeah.
Yes,
Linda's treating.
Great.
Yay.
We like that.
Yes.
When are we going? Friday?
Friday. Oh, I'm busy. I'm
Yeah,
sorry.
you're
You
gonna be-
promised.
Bummer.
Yeah, well, she'll take
Well,
us.
just we don't need you. Just your credit card. Well, you know, one
hand it to
place.
me. I'll give it to. I'll
One
use
place
it.
I think might deserve mentioning too is the San Remo Hotel.
San Remo and North Beach on Mason Street.
Yeah, I
That's
see
right.
the San Remo.
That place is great, and what's I think even better. Like Tony and I have done several conferences there with San Francisco Ghost Society. You girls have been
Oh, yeah.
part of them.
We were definitely
and,
part of that.
I think one of the great things about that place is the history that was found, and also the fact that we sort of dispelled. Because once again, it's one of those places that the stories get retold and retold, and then
Regurgitated.
Well, I think the famous story you see on the internet is that it was owned by a madam, which is not true.
No.
There was no madam that owned it. She died there. We all know that, from the owners. And her death is pretty creepy. She was there for a week in the room, and they had to go through the window, and they sort of found her and
Touched
her dead sort
Her
of
head
head,
was-
and just
Old
creepy
and
as heck.
stiff.
And then of course the suicides that have gone on there.
And a recent
Even a
one
recent
Yeah.
this
Like-
year.
Yeah, the recent one.
last
Yeah.
fall.
Yeah.
Last
Yeah.
fall. It was like
Yeah, it was
August,
really
September.
sad.
Yeah,
Yeah.
we were there a few days after that
Yeah.
suicide.
2 days later.
Yeah. I
Yeah.
mean, just amazing
I actually
place,
visited the
though.
place the day he did it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, we had done a couple conferences there. There was people that saw that apparition that walked through the.
Oh my
saw
God!
it.
Yeah.
That,
Yep.
that was
yeah.
like 5 people witnessed that
First time I've ever seen a real
apparition. And,
Yeah, coming down
that
from
I
the
could
kitchen
describe
to the
without a
exit
problem.
area.
Yeah, that was really creepy. And
right through the door.
I've seen the sailor a little bit.
I'm sure you have.
Uh-huh.
I said, "Hi, yes, sailor."
Hey,
I was
sailor.
up in the second floor. My husband never been to the San Remo, so we rented a room there so we can spend some time together. And
When was this?
This was, God, it was our anniversary. It was.
Do you know when that is?
Not last year. I know. As my marriage
tie a
keeps
string around
going
your
and
neck.
going and going, it's like I'm losing the years. Anyhow, about a couple years ago.
Okay.
And I was waiting for my husband Ted to, come and everything. And I was going to the restroom, and I was going back to the room. And then when I was going back, I saw a man in white, wearing a white
Yeah.
the sailor,
Like a Cracker Jack outfit?
it looked like a Cracker Jack kid, and walk right by me,
Wow.
real quick. It was just like a blink,
Yeah.
2 blinks, 2 or 3 blinks. I'm like.
Amazing stories. there,
Yeah, I
though,
mean, it's just amazing.
yeah.
And downstairs at the restaurant, there's a lot of activity.
Yeah, restaurants are
especially in
great.
Oh,
place.
yeah.
Good food there too.
Oh, yeah.
Real
Good
good
food.
food.
And the people
Tony-
are
Great food.
Tony and I had done a TV show there.
Mm-hmm.
We did several vignettes.
Was that Full House that we did? No, just kidding.
No, not Full House. It was Streets of San Francisco.
Oh, yeah, that's it.
But no, we did a Comcast cable. It was like San Francisco Haunts or something, and we did about 4 vignettes, didn't we?
Yep.
And we had a good time. It was interesting. They did all these reenactments and.
It was Comcast, I think, that did
Yeah,
it.
Comcast. And then we had that conference and we had that walkthrough that people really loved, where we sort of did all those little cheap scares to them.
Oh, I
Yeah,
remember.
that tied in with the stories
Tied in
of
with
the
the
hotel.
stories of the
This is
hotel.
before I joined you guys.
Yeah, it was just like
That went
Halloween.
over really well,
That went
though.
over really well. And, maybe someday we'll end up going there again or doing conference.
I did one.
well, my
I did
first-
one with you and Jackie, and
That was the
Yeah.
second one?
That was the second or
Yeah.
third.
Yeah.
I think we had 2 of them there, didn't
Yeah,
we?
the
2.
first one had these short 30-minute tours that we did 3 rotations
And
of.
then the other one had like no speakers at all. It was just
Right.
pure
Investigation.
which went really well.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, we'll have to do another sort of conference in the future.
that would be
Tony.
great.
One of my first conference, how I met Tony and Tommy, was at the Queen Anne Hotel.
Yeah.
That was my first paranormal conference there.
That's right. That
Yeah.
was a good
And
conference. That was our first
this one
conference.
is
That was
on 1590 Sutter Street.
And I think actually though you met us even before that though, didn't
Nope.
you? Didn't you meet us at that little mini Sutro
good. The Sutro Baths one. That was, yeah, it was.
Oh, I did.
Yeah,
Oh my
I think
gosh,
that's where we
that's
met
right.
you.
That's
Yeah.
how I found out. Of the
And then
conference.
that's how you found out about
About
the
the conference.
All right, we'll be right back on Ecto Portal.
They're coming to get you, Barbara.
Stop it! You're ignorant.
They're coming for you, Barbara.
Stop it! You're acting like a child.
They're coming for you. Look, there comes one of them now.
We are going to start with the Queen Anne Hotel, correct? Mm-hmm. Go for it.
I just changed it around. That was one of the first paranormal conference that I went to, and that's
Our first
like I
conference,
said, my
right?
first one. And
Yes, it was our
hooked.
very first conference.
I was hooked.
That's a great hotel, though.
Yeah, it is
Beautiful
great.
hotel.
Beautiful.
It's a
love that
gorgeous
place.
hotel.
So many stories.
So it's at 1590 Sutter Street in San Francisco.
Off Octavia,
The Queen
right?
Yes.
Anne Hotel opened in 1890. Originally, it was called Miss Mary Lake School for Girls. It offered classes for young upper-class women about etiquette and, entering the San Francisco society and everything. And 9 years later, the building was sold to Cosmos, and it became an exclusive gentleman's club. And then over the years, it had several owners. And then 1980, a private company bought the place and fixed it up and turned it into a hotel, and which it operates today. And it's rumored, ghost hunters go there, that Miss Lake, she haunts the place. And also, they say like on the first floor, where it goes up to the rooms, you
The
can
mirror,
hear
right?
children.
What about the mirror, right?
Oh, and then there's the big mirror where you can see probably the
Mary Lake. People see Mary Lake in the
Mary
mirror.
Lake in there.
And and there's
and then you can
the
hear children
because
running
of,
around.
Yeah, because that was actually like the gymnasium at
Mm-hmm.
one point there, And there's also a connection with the church there too, because
Mm-hmm.
it was like a boarding house for I forget which faith, one of those Christian faiths, Lutheran, or
You know what's crazy? I got some really, really good EVPs at the Queen Anne, and one of the ones that I really am impressed with the most, you hear a woman go, "Shut that door," and then you hear a bunch of giggling girls, and you hear a little girl must have poked her head into the hall, I swear, because I was wandering around by myself, and she goes, "Toodaloo," slam, and slams the door, and I'm talking. You could tell there was no carpeting when she slammed it.
Mm-hmm.
It was wood, so wood slam against wood. You can hear the echo. There was no carpeting on the floor like there is today.
yeah.
So it was a really, really
It's
cool.
very active there, and
It is.
it was one of the few places that we actually got to investigate too with Debbie and Mark Constantino. They had come to the conference. Do you remember? And
Not our conference. I've never met them.
yeah, they actually had come. Didn't they come to the Queen Anne conference? I believe they did.
Janice
The one
did.
that we were.
Janice came.
Oh, I remember Janice.
The
And she
Constantinos
was at
did,
Miss
'cause I never
Lake's
met them.
room.
Debbie did come. They did come.
You know what?
They did.
Oh my God, I met them.
You did.
We did. We met them, and we didn't even know it because
That's possible.
Oh
They
my
weren't real.
God.
They weren't super as famous as they got,
weren't,
and then
yeah.
infamous. But yeah, we did
This is
meet them
before the Ghost
because they came with
Adventures.
Janice. They came with Janice.
Then I must have met them because
You
we
met
all
him.
had breakfast together.
You met them.
Right.
Wow. Okay.
Oh my God.
And
been lying on
it was
this.
one of those two places. I mean, I was lucky to do some investigations with them. Once on Alcatraz, and then once at the Queen Anne, and then we also did another one. I think it was Arizona. I think it was in Arizona.
Wow.
Yeah. So, they did a lot of the sort of paranormal circuit. But
Yeah.
but it's a great place.
One thing in the hotel, I remember I didn't stay overnight. I just went just for the conference and the investigation. I didn't stay. But during the dinner break, Verna came by to hang out to have dinner with me. And I was showing her the hotel. And so I went up on the top, and then all of a sudden I'm a sensitive. So I can feel things. I get sick. When I start I always get really, really sick, really nausea.
I
And
remember
go, why am I
that.
feeling like that? And then one of the girls came up to me and she said, Miss Lake's room.
Yes.
So I felt her presence there. Also, another weird thing, when we went downstairs, we were just getting ready to wrap up everything, and I was with Sharon and Anne Leon. And we were talking, and there was like a cookie break, and there was cookies, but they were like, store-bought cookies. They weren't fresh. And I kept smelling. I asked Sharon, I said, Sharon, do you smell that heavy? It smelled like cinnamon rolls, cinnamon buns. And it was heavily, heavily scented.
Mm-hmm.
And I said, is anybody in the kitchen cooking? There's nobody in the kitchen, but
Yeah.
you can smell that cinnamon. It was just
Pretty amazing.
amazing. So, and also, one more thing, the elevator. There's an elevator there by the desk, and it kept running all night long by itself. There was nobody in the elevator. I keep hearing it all night long, just going back and forth, back and forth.
Yeah, I had an
place is
experience
haunted.
at that hotel as well. I was with somebody, and we were both in the lobby together, and we were both we were both smooching, getting romantic, and right, exactly.
Oh, yeah.
And I decided I was investigating at the same time because I went ahead and I put my phone on to capture some sound. So later when I came home, I was listening and it was pretty quiet. The sound was pretty quiet, but then I kept hearing slamming doors, like really loud slamming doors. So I sent a message to the person I was with, and I said, when you were at the hotel with me, did you recall hearing slamming doors? And he said no. So it recorded it very loudly.
Well, it fits with Tony's story of his EVP,
Exactly.
the slamming
Yeah.
door and the little girl that haunts the place.
It's too loud.
Yeah, and there's also a maid that haunts it as well. There's actually stories of where one woman woke up and the maid was in her room and she said, they need to put a plant here. And she was like, that's weird, okay, whatever. And then when she went downstairs to talk to them, turned out that there really was no maid in her room at that time. And I don't know if they put the plant there or not. Maybe they did. But
To appease the
you know,
maid.
She should have taken a picture of the plant just to.
Yeah.
that might
Yeah.
have been a good idea, So
Yeah.
quite a lot of stories there. I mean, definitely worth checking out. It's you can rent her room, you can rent
Yeah,
Mary
Mary
Lake's
Lake
room.
What is it, 110?
No, it's for I want to say 410. 410.
410, okay.
It's on the fourth
No,
floor.
10 was in it.
Yeah, it's on the fourth floor.
That's the one I
410.
stayed in that night, and I had walking pneumonia by the time the conference was over.
Because it was cold.
No, I just had walking pneumonia by the time the conference was over. I was just getting sicker throughout the day.
Oh.
So I was up sweating buckets all night
that
long.
sucks. Yeah.
And I
Good
actually-
conference. Good conference.
Good, but it was a great conference.
It was.
I just
and I remember we only charged like $39 or something
That's right.
ridiculous.
Yeah, Linda came home very excited from that conference.
Yeah.
it was a good one.
I want to be with the San
And
Francisco
look at her now.
Society.
Look at her now.
I know.
Now another hotel. Now this is a story I found interesting because I'd never heard this. The Sir Francis Drake Hotel on Powell Street. It says bewitched star Paul Lynde was involved in a gruesome accident in 1965. A man rumored to be his lover fell from the 8th story after a long night of drinking. Hotel guests report mysterious open windows, moving curtains, eerie voices, and strange shadows. So that's interesting. I've never heard of any.
I never heard that story.
The Sir Francis Drake.
Yeah.
I've never heard that Poland
Yeah,
story.
I mean, that's pretty exciting. I would like to learn more about that. I'm sure that had to be reported in the paper somewhere.
That's true.
I met a
You know,
person.
especially someone like Paul Lynde.
I met a person who worked at the
Sammy.
St. Francis
Sammy.
Hotel, and they said if you go up to the desk, and I shouldn't tell you everybody, but I'm going to, that they have a speakeasy there that you can go and visit.
The Sir Francis
And
Drake.
the Sir Francis Drake has a speakeasy, that you can go in there.
Don't tell anybody.
Don't tell
I'm
me.
not going to tell anybody.
Okay.
And this is the other one. I don't know if you guys heard of this. Ocean View Motel on Judah Street in Outer Sunset.
Okay.
4340 Judah Street.
I've eaten there. There's a restaurant there.
In May of 1996, just hours before punk rock band Sublime was scheduled to play a San Francisco concert, lead singer Bradley Nowell died of a heroin overdose at the Ocean View.
See, I didn't know he died there.
28 years old and recently married, and he finished a night of crazy partying at the hotel. Sublime's drummer discovered him dead shortly after noon the following day.
Well, I
The band
missed
broke
that.
up after his death.
Missed
That's
the 27 Club by a year.
Yeah, exactly. By a year.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Wow.
I was surprised by that one. I didn't know that.
Yeah, you know, I may be thinking of another hotel, but there's one that's near the ocean, and
I know
there's
which
a
one. I know
restaurant.
what one you're thinking
Didn't
of.
we eat there at the restaurant
We
or
did.
something once?
I don't remember what it was called. It was close to that.
Yeah, maybe it was called the Seal Inn or something. I don't know.
Seahorse Inn.
Something. But
It's right by
I know
up
what
the
you're
street from
talking about.
Sutro
I wonder
Baths
if you
on the
could
corner.
rent. It'd be nice to go to that motel and rent his room and
Find out what room it
See what's
was.
going on.
find out what room and
Yeah.
see if you can get any EVPs or
That'd be a good
Get any evidence.
investigation.
Yeah.
just
Probably
for a
cheap
nice
one.
cheap investigation, you know.
Yeah.
And you could report it all on the show,
That would be great.
you know.
Yeah.
Well,
Exactly.
let's discuss.
Also, in the city, that
2017.
Chinatown is very notorious.
Well, there's the Golden
notoriously
Dragon
haunted.
Massacre at the Imperial Palace.
Oh, yeah,
Very
everybody knows
famous.
about that.
Didn't that happen
Yeah.
in the 70s?
Yeah. No, I thought it happened later than that.
No, I think it was in the 70s.
I think it was in the
really?
70s.
Okay.
Yeah.
There's-
All right.
Chinatown was
The
having
Joe
a really
Boys
bad
and the
gang war.
watching gangs.
Yep.
And there's all kinds of ghosts and phantoms and all the opium dens they were there, and
I guess there's tunnels.
vampires and the tunnels of Chinatown. And very, very superstitious there with a lot of folks that are Chinese that are, especially from Hong Kong, that are extremely superstitious, about
That's
ghosts
true.
and hungry ghosts. And, in fact, there is a tour that goes on there.
Yeah.
The
That's right.
Chinatown
Ghost
Ghost
Walk to
Tour.
Chinatown.
And you can probably look it up online. And they take you all around there. And she
I
actually
heard
uses
it's really worth it.
she uses these sort of poppers, those things you buy that you throw them on the ground and they go.
She gives you poppers?
Not that kind of poppers.
Oh.
It's not that kind
the
of ghost
amusement.
town.
Not that.
That's,
Maybe we
the
see a lot more
Castro
ghosts.
Yeah.
But those poppers, those are good for her because it scares the
spirits away.
spirits.
Yeah.
Guess
So-
what? It's time to sign off.
Oh, no, you're
Oh,
kidding.
man.
There's so many stories.
so
You
much
just
to cover.
you need to do another show on
Absolutely.
just all the stories that
we're
are here.
just gonna go and do part
If you
two.
guys go and
We should do
if
a
I
part
can
two
say,
then.
Yep.
Absolutely. And if you guys go to hauntedamericaTours.com, it's a really great website. We're actually listed as the number 7 most haunted city in the United States.
Awesome.
Wow, that's great.
Yep. And
Very cool.
I
Love
think,
that.
yeah, amazing. Lots of ghosts and lots of history here.
So we'll definitely do a part 2, folks. That wraps up the Ecto Portal show for this week. The Ghosts of San Francisco. Stay tuned next week. We're going to have
Krampus.
Beware Krampus.
Beware the Krampus.
You'll hear all about the Krampus, the Christmas demon, or the origins, where he came from,
The
what
terrible
people have
movie.
done.
Lots of Christmas and winter legends we'll be talking
the
about.
church trying to fight the Krampus and stomp it out
Yes.
from
Don't go see the
existence.
movie, though.
So we will see you next week. Until next time in the Ecto Portal.
See you
Thanks for
next
having me,
week.
guys. It's been great and always a pleasure to be here with you folks.
Portal.